Today with us, we have Mr. Neil Borate, Head of Personal Finance from Mint. Hello, and welcome, Neil.
Hi, Sadiq. Great to be here.
Fantastic. So, friends, Neil is the Head of Personal Finance at Mint, and he has won a lot of industry accolades for the work which he and Mint team has been doing. For the past couple of years, I have been seeing great stories, superbly empowering the investors, and the kind of stories that Neil and his team are making just amazing. Okay, for example, today I saw that they made a story on elderly care. Many of the offbeat stories which really needs attention, but nobody is talking about it. So congratulations, Neil, for all the great work which you and your team at Mint are doing.
Thanks, Sadiq. That's very kind.
So, friends, another thing, we have seen a lot of influencers gaining a lot of followers by doing a lot of एक serial था सबसे बड़े ड्रामेबाज, now, but with real content, with genuine content, which is adding so much value. Neil has been able to get 80,000 LinkedIn followers and 45,000 Twitter followers. So that's another great feat, Neil, for you. Congratulations.
Thanks, Sadiq.
Another thing which which has come up in the last I think few months, he has also co-authored the book, The Big Bull of Dalal Street, on Rakesh Junjunwala. That's another feather in your hat, Neil. Congratulations and welcome to the SuccessTalks.
Thank you, Sadiq. In fact, as we were discussing earlier, अगर मैं थोड़ा ड्रामा करता, थोड़ा डांस करता, तो शायद और भी ज़्यादा followers होते. Acting class लेने पड़ेंगे.
कर लीजिए, अभी time है, and I'm sure you'll get more fame and more all the things associated with fame with that. So friends, in the last few years, I've interviewed a lot of successful financial advisors, distributors in the industry, but this is for the first time that I'm interviewing a media personality, a journalist. So this is something special for me. First time, but something special. So Neil, my first question to you is this. According to me, we are all doing the same work. The financial advisors, distributors, and we call them as personal finance professionals, PFPs at Network FP. The PFPs do it one-to-one, whereas you do it one-to-many. I wanted to understand from your perspective as a media editor, media personality editor, journalist, what is the work which you see same as that of a personal finance professional, and where you are competing with them and where you are complementing them, and maybe where you can collaborate with the PFPs.
Yeah. So Sadiq, before I begin, just want to add that it is a privilege to be the first journalist, the first media personality on Network FP. So thank you so much for inviting me. Now, our role is, I would argue, very strongly complementary, because we provide resources that advisors can use, research that advisors can use on topics that are usually under-researched or offbeat. So I'm sure a lot of people here would have clients whose parents are really old, and they might be abroad. They might be looking for good nursing services. What do hospitals charge? Some corporate hospitals, they provide at-home care. So all of that they get at one glance from our infographic. They can also see the real charges that people are paying actually, that the case studies that we present. So in many, many ways, it is strongly complementary. It is only comparative to the extent that if somebody reads Mint and gets so much confidence that they can invest on their own, then they might not go to an advisor. But that will always be a small minority of people. For the vast majority, I think a newspaper is a supplement. It's a source of information. Advice comes from an advisor.
Correct. Sure. And where do you see, you mentioned that it's complementary and perfectly said so, but where do you see PFPs and journalists actually collaborating and actually making a bigger difference together to the masses?
So a lot of people ask me that, where do your story ideas come from? And my answer always is from our readers. And a large section of, especially my readers, are personal finance professionals. They're MFDs, they're RIAs, they are wealth managers, all kinds of different folks. And it's they who give me the ideas, and they who give me the information, and they who give me the reviews. Without them, my article would be hollow. It would have nothing. So it is a mutual interdependency. I need you guys to bring out better stories, to inform people better. And through me, hopefully you can reach a large audience also.
Lovely. Neil, as PFPs, we measure our success based on how many families we are serving, what's the assets under management. How do you, as a media personality and a journalist, how do you measure your success?
Yeah, so there are two answers. One is the practical commercial answer, and the other is slightly deeper answer. So I'll give you the practical one first. At Mint, we get every week we get email with which articles are generating subscriptions, and that is the true test of good journalism, of good writing, because you see, clickbait will attract clicks, but it's only a good article, and in fact, several good articles in a row that will convert a subscriber. So that is the asset test on which we are judged. At least my team inside Mint. On a deeper level, I mean, apart from the monetary angle, so that's the monetary appraisal wala angle. Apart from that, if I'm able to, help somebody make slightly better returns or help them save some money on an item of expenditure, then I think I've done my job.
Lovely. So there's a lot of similarity, Neil, between you and us. When we started at Network FP 12 years back, nobody used to pay up for knowledge in the industry. And we're the ones who started, okay, if you want knowledge, genuine knowledge, which can be transformational, you should pay up. And so fee paying and it is a challenge, whether it is consumers or it is professionals, right? So coming to the fee part, and we also seen the RIAs trying to charge fees and struggling around it. So what is your general understanding and opinion about the specific behavior of Indians around fee paying for consultancy and knowledge?
Yeah, so I fully agree that traditionally we are not used to paying for knowledge or what is perceived as knowledge, which is actually not knowledge in most cases. So, coming to how traditional media has been run on the back of advertising, a lot of the articles are clickbait. They're there to generate clicks and traffic, and then the advertisers get more views, they get more clicks, they can sell more stuff, and it is all an unhealthy cycle. When there is subscription in place, then we are writing for you, the consumer, because you're paying us directly. So a clickbait simply will not do. You'll stop subscribing, you will complain, all kinds of things will happen. That is the model that we have to transition to. I think it will happen. It's a slow, difficult path, but I'm confident that it will happen over time.
Sure. But generally, have you seen any change in behavior around this in the last couple of years? Previously, when it was free versus now it is paid.
So the very fact that most financial media outlets in the country today have premium news, paywall news, shows that there is a business case for it. And it has survived. So I think Mint Premium has been there since 2020 at least. And every year the subscribers have grown. There will come a point when subscriptions overtake advertising as the main form of revenue. That's not happened yet, but it is increasing. It's a much more stable, promising, healthy source for us. And even for other good publications, not just us. So I see the signs. In fact, what I do on Twitter every day, we are all given some employee codes that we can give to some people for discount on subscription. Okay. I give out 5 codes every day. And every day without fail, people come and ask me that early in the morning. My rule is that whoever asks me, first come, first serve. So सुबह जब मैं उठता हूँ तब whoever tweets me first, I give them the first code. तो हर सुबह लोग जल्दी उठ के मुझे कोड पूछते हैं.
अच्छा. Interesting. Now, coming to, when we are talking about behavior and how consumers in India think or investors in India think, you interact with so many investors and consumers, right? What do you think they really want from personal finance professional, be it RI, MFD? The compensation is different, but the work done by, all of them is same, right? What do you think consumers really want? And when is it that they tend to work with a professional like us, and when is it they are like pissed off? No, I don't want to work with a professional.
So I would put it in just 3 words: value for money. They don't, at the end of the day, care so much about whether the money they're paying is through commission or through fees. Although in the long run, I think fees align investor and advisor interest best. But I'm fully aware of the practicalities of today's market. So if a good MFD is delivering value for money, then the client would definitely stick with them. So let me give an example. Right? This all sounds abstract. The best way to understand this is to look at where value for money does not come. And most prominently that happens with bank RMs. You have bank RMs usually recommending whatever fund or whatever product has the highest commission. And I'm not saying this off the top of my head or out of thin air. We have documented this in Mint because thankfully banks are required to disclose the commissions from where they are getting. And mutual funds, AMCs are required to disclose who they're paying the commissions to. All you have to do is put them side by side, which is what we did in our article. I'm happy to share a link here. Yeah. And in some cases, you will see 90% coming from the sister concern of that bank. This is a bank that's supposed to be unbiased. How on earth is it unbiased? I have heard from mutual fund after mutual fund, which is not bank owned, that they will not impanel us, they will not sell our products because they will always favor the sister bank. And for some reason, this is tolerated. So clearly value for money is not coming there. With MFDs, I think there is, with independent MFDs, there's an inherent interest to retain clients for the long term. You're not here tomorrow with the next bank, the next day, third bank, the third day. So I don't think that is so much a factor, but it's hard to generalize, right? There will be, I'm sure, some distributors who would probably pushing high commission products. And RIAs, of course, is the most, I think, aligned set of incentives. Of course, RIA also has some bad apples. Indore is notorious for producing those. But I think in the long run, we need to move away from a bank RM-led system, which is where we are today, to more independent MFDs, to more RIAs.
Lovely, got that. Now coming to the Finfluencers, and we all know the tremendous growth that social media influencers or the Finfluencer got since the COVID days, right? Lakhs and millions of followers, making a lot of money. You see their setups now, they're all fancy stuff, almost become a celebrity, right?
Yeah.
You have you have been very vocal about what's happening out there on the social media. And why this, what do you think is the real problem out there and how it is impacting the consumers and the industry?
Yeah, so I'll go back a little into history. If you think before the pandemic, there were some influencers. YouTube had already created some stars, but it was nowhere near the scale that was about to unfold since 2020. And initially, we didn't realize anybody. I mean, certainly I didn't realize just how far this was going. So a lot of us in the media actually celebrated the rise of influencers. We did stories on how this person went from losing their job or shifting careers to gaining lakhs of followers and talking about finance. It's only later that it became apparent what the conflicts of interest are. And we have documented this in detail in an article in Mint. What we did is we looked up the posts that influencers put up and the affiliate links that are on those posts, the marketing links that are on those posts, and who is the person, where is this money coming from, who is funding the influencers? In a large majority of cases, we saw that it is the brokers, the stock brokers who are doing it. Now, how did this work? In a lot of cases, influencers were empaneled as authorized persons or APs. And this allowed the brokers to give dashboards to influencers, which allowed them to track every single trade and get a cut out of every single trade. This is important because that way they could also verify that, I'm being paid in proportion to the followers that I have. And this created a vicious cycle because when you are incentivized by your followers trading, then you have to get them to trade more. So you make the next video about trading and the next video with unrealistic kind of narratives. So that is one problem. And that's a huge, huge problem. The other problem, the other source of funding of influencers is typically unregulated products or new fintechs, people who are trying very, very risky things in the market.
Including So I've seen many people
Oh,
recommending.
yeah. So actually, it so happened that the rise of influencers was parallel with the crypto boom of 2020-21. So a huge amount of money flowed from the crypto industry to them. No accountability, no disclosure. And there was that famous Vault episode where they were advertising crypto as FD, and nobody seemed to do anything about it. Now that has subsided. The crypto boom has subsided, but there will always be risky products in the world of finance. They will always need a voice, and that voice will not typically come to them from big organized media, because big organized media has reputation to protect. If I say tomorrow, if I get up and say, go and invest in tax-free solar plants, I will be trolled like crazy. But if I have a influencer with lakhs of followers on YouTube who are first-time investors, who are young, who don't understand all these things, I can get away. And that's exactly what is happening. So it is hugely problematic. I hope that SEBI comes up with those regulations sooner rather than later, because it is people's finances and their future that is being put at risk.
Sure. And if we were to put it, what's the case right now, whether it is media versus influencer or influencers versus professionals? Where is the real competition which influencers are playing?
So you have to think of it this way, right? Is it in a influencer's interest for their clients to move to RIAs, to move to MFDs, to move to professionals, really? I don't think it is. It is in their interest that the follower goes out and invests as they say they should. It is in their interest that the follower goes and clicks on the affiliate links and buys the products that they say. It's in their direct commercial interest. If that follower were to take a second opinion from an RIA or an MFD, it is very unlikely that those products will be bought. So this is a false dichotomy. When they say that it's the media who's competing, it is really the formal financial system which is competing, of which media is a part, sure. The money that goes to them for advertising has not come to us, agreed. But we are bound by a whole bunch of things that they are not bound by. We are part of the formal financial system. They can work outside those rules, work outside those limits, and get away with all kinds of things.
But Neil, another one question on this. Traditionally, media, although not so tightly regulated, but you have followed certain code of ethics, and there's unsaid, unwritten rules which you follow, which is in the interest of consumers. Whereas influencers are like, no holds barred, let's go out and do what it takes to get the TRP and get my followers. So is that the challenge? Is regulation the only challenge, or is there anything else? So regulator obviously has, the SEBI has said that they'll come up with something. So that will come in its place. But is that the only thing that needs to be done, or is there anything else that needs to be done?
No. It would be remiss of me not to point out the failing on our part as well, which is that often we don't speak the language of the youth. We don't understand how to communicate in a fun, informal way. And that includes me. So until recently, I used to think that my Instagram account is for my friends and for cat photos. Then I realized that actually, no, I'm giving up a massive market by not using it professionally. So now I've started putting some videos related to my work on my Insta as well. If anybody's interested, I'm at Neil Borate on Twitter, on Instagram. But it's still new for me. And it was a miss. It was a miss for me and for the rest of us. And it actually is bad for the public that it was a miss for us, because then that allowed a lot of the unregulated guys to get in there.
Got that. Now let's change gears to another very hotly debated topic on which we have views, the RIA, the SEBI registered investment advisors. So Neil, we have been tracking this space for the last 10 years since it came up. And a lot of RIAs are part of Network FP community also. But in the last couple of months, or even I would say a couple of years, a lot of RIAs are calling up and talking about surrendering their license, all the compliance work, all the compliance, strict compliance work which they have to do, the mess which the regulator has created in their practice, a lot of entry barriers. So my question to you is this: we all understand there's a challenge with RIA. And it's a serious challenge. We as industry and professionals understand it. We are going through it. But from the consumer's perspective, how serious is this challenge, and how consumers are not getting what they really deserve?
Yeah. So, as I said earlier, from the consumer point of view, what matters is value for money. So, they are not going to care so much if the person is an RIA or an MFD. But the fact that the RIA profession has been stunted, it has not flourished because of over-regulation, is in the long term not in the interest of the people of India. Because I think in the long term, that is the most aligned form of financial intermediation. Because if you think of how do you separate today an MFD from an RM, other than the fact that the RM works in a bank? How does the consumer separate that? How does a consumer separate an MFD from an insurance agent? With RIAs, SEBI had drawn a very, very strong line in the sand that you can only charge fees, you can't charge commissions. Unfortunately, that has not taken off because of SEBI's own extra rules. But hopefully that will change. I think there will be some relaxations that should come, I hope.
So let's talk some stats on this. There are 1,300 RIAs, out of which 800 to 900 are actually empaneled with the BSE SRO, right? The BSE floated.
Yeah.
So these are actually, it's like KYD with MFDs, right? And out of those 800 odd people, according to our analysis and whatever we know, because we closely track, not more than 300 to 350 are actually genuine RIAs who are doing comprehensive financial planning, right? So we are talking about 300 RIAs, genuine RIAs for a country of 1.4 billion people.
Yeah.
So how do these stats actually add up and make a case कि भाई कुछ होने वाला है, and कब होने वाला?
Yeah. So unfortunately, that's a question that only the regulator can answer. But I think that कुछ ना कुछ होना चाहिए, होने वाला है, because this is raised by, so in fact, there was a question in the Lok Sabha last year on this exact point, that, India has one RIA per how many thousand people, and the answer was some ridiculous amount. So, and given that SEBI itself has created the RIA profession, it is surely not in their interest to let it die. So I think that kuch na kuch to hoga eventually. It's a matter of time.
Okay, let's put it this way. If you were SEBI, okay, let's put you in their shoes. What is it that 1, 2, 3 you would have done to make sure that it's not really about RIA, but it's about consumers getting the right advisor, accessible, affordable, and trustworthy?
So when the number of RIAs increase, automatically advice will become more accessible. We actually put out a map of India which showed where the RIAs are located, and majority of them, as you would expect, were in Maharashtra, Gujarat, Tamil Nadu, a few states. The whole of the Northeast has practically no RIAs. So once the supply expands, of course, it will become more accessible. Fees will also come down to some extent. And there are certain very easy things that SEBI can do right now to become just a person associated with financial advice, not even an RIA, but an assistant to an RIA. You have to have a 2-year postgraduate degree in only certain subjects, so finance, management, etc. Now, even some IIMs have a 1-year degree. Even that doesn't work. Then you have to have 2 years of experience, which is putting a catch-22, because to get the experience, you have to work in an RIA. But to work in an RIA, you have to have the experience. So that experience has to come from working in some other part of finance. Now, why would somebody who works in a mutual fund or who works in a distribution practice suddenly have a change of heart and move to an RIA? That is constraining the supply of people for RIAs. It's raising the cost for them. To be an actual RIA, these things become further more stringent. So you have to have 5 years of experience, and you have to have that degree, the postgraduate degree. Then you have to give the same exam, the same NISM exam every 3 years. Just imagine. In this country, now my parents are doctors. For them to retain that medical license, they have to do something called CPE, Continuing Professional Education, which was earlier there for RIAs also, which is attending a few lectures. They deal with life and death, but they don't have to give the same exam every 3 years, whereas here is just money, but still. So it's a bunch of these utterly absurd, impractical regulations that desperately need to be amended. And I think at some point, SEBI will realize how impractical they are.
Sure. Adding on to this, extending this question, you often keep saying that the industry is broken or the personal finance industry is broken, right? What really you mean by this, and what is the impact that it is creating when you say industry is broken?
I think it is broken because of this very problem that the profession of RIAs is so dead, and SEBI is not making it easy for or possible for MFDs to transition to RIA status. Even those who are willing to spend some money, take the training, take whatever, make the efforts required. So that allows a lot of these malpractices to flourish. A lot of these, let me give you concrete examples, right? Yes Bank 81 bonds. Who sold them? It was Yes Bank RMs who sold them to Yes Bank customers. Today, the mis-selling of AIFs and PMS is quite prevalent, especially Cat 2 AIFs, because Cat 2 AIFs have 1/3 upfronting allowed. Wherever you have upfronting, wherever you have inordinately high commissions, there will be mis-selling. The only sustainable path out of this, from a consumer point of view, is for that person to define very clearly that I will only take a fee from you. This is how much it is. I'm not going to be biased by which product I sell. And you have to enable MFDs to transition to RIA status and ease up on those rules.
Sure. Let me put a question in a little different way when you around this. There are a lot of kinds of financial intermediaries in the marketplace, right? From banks and NDs and RIAs, MFDs. There are insurance people, there are stock brokers and all this stuff. And the whole profession as such is, the combination of all the work which is done by all these kind of intermediaries defines the trust level of consumers in this profession, right? So according to you, how would you segregate the good apples and the bad apples? Who would fall, according to you, in the good apples, and who, according to you, would fall in the bad apples, who are spoiling the industry?
So, as I said before, there are certain categories of people who are inherently more susceptible to mis-selling and to not delivering value for money. So I would put bank RMs squarely in that category.
Sure.
A lot of people who sell endowment, in fact, anybody who sells endowment insurance, I would put into that category. With MFDs, how do I generalize, right? I mean, I personally know a lot of good MFDs who stuck by their clients for the long term.
Yes.
But you can hardly ensure that the entire community, the entire industry has never missold, right? There will be some who have missold.
Sure.
So from a logical, rational point of view, the future has to be fees eventually. I understand that there should be an easy path. It should not be governed by the hundreds of rules that are there today, but that's where the industry has to go.
Absolutely. So as I understand, any intermediary who is delivering value for money, number one, and second, who is doing things in the client interest rather than his.
Yeah.
Great. So thanks for that, Neil. Next one is regarding you. You as an author. Congratulations for co-authoring the book, The Big Bull of Dalal Street on Rakesh Jhunjhunwalaji. Why this book, and what is the message from this book for professionals like us? What are the three, couple of key learnings that we as professionals can gain from your book?
Yeah. So two reasons for this book. One, the more practical one, which is that Rakeshji passed away last year, and we felt that now was the right time to write it. There was obviously a surge of interest in him. The second, more deep reason is that if everyone here were to just close their eyes and think for a minute as to one person who symbolizes the Indian investor's dream, it would be him, right? So that was a no-brainer. There's a lot of material available about him. You Google him and there are hundreds of articles, hundreds of YouTube videos. There's no dearth of information. But there is no attempt, apart from our book, to systematically put it all together and present it to someone who doesn't know much, who wants to read about him from scratch. What we have not done is done a worshipful, oh, he's so wonderful, oh, he's so great kind of biography. We have pointed out the three. So our book is divided into three sections. The first section is a biography of him. The second section is three stocks that made him his fortune largely: Titan, Lupin, and Crystal. Then we have three 3 mistakes that he made. So things like DHFL, for example. And then the last section is the personal finance lessons that you can draw from him.
Oh.
So our attempt here is not just to present the man in a glorious color, is to present the man how he was, to tell you how he made his money, and finally to tell you what can you practically take from him in your life.
Lovely. Great. Congratulations, Neil. That would be a great asset to the industry as such to learn the lessons from his life and his thinking. My next question is, around media and professionals again. I've seen over the last 18, 19 years since I've been there in the industry, a lot of people who come into the media, the professionals who come into the media really become they gain more trust and more credibility, and that ultimately converts into the business, right? Now, and no brainer, everybody wants to be in media, either quoted, write an article, or get bites and stuff like that. Everybody wants to do that, either in mainstream media or in local media. According to you, being there on the other side, how do you think PFPs or personal finance professionals can get into media by genuinely adding value to the work that you are doing as editors and journalists?
Yeah. So as I said before, a lot of people ask me that where do my topics come from? Where do I think of what to write? And the answer is always from my readers. And that includes you guys. So the best way that you can contribute. So don't think of being published in a paper as the end goal. Think of being part of an impactful story, being part of an impactful article as the end goal, something that delivers value. Because there'll be no dearth of journalists who are willing to take 2 quotes and write something like, top multi-bagger in the last three years, or this penny stock went up 5 times, whatever it is. You don't want to be part of that. You want to engage with the right journalist for the right story. And if you have a good story to tell, that will happen. So I am very accessible on social media, Twitter, LinkedIn. Feel free to approach me from whatever form. So I get a lot of requests saying that, can we send columns or write-ups? Yes, you can. We do have a guest column on the personal finance page, which is a daily page, 5 days a week, Monday to Friday. And we accept columns from all kinds of people, fund managers, mutual fund distributors, RIAs, across the spectrum. But perhaps what is more meaningful to me personally is if you share your story or the story of your client, something that is a pain point, something that's real. Don't think of it as I want to present my expertise to the world and therefore I'll write this column, then I'll put it on social media and then I'll get lots of likes. Think of it as, this is an issue that needs to be addressed. This is how I can help. Let me talk to this person and give us time, right? We are flooded with columns. Every day we get huge amount of submissions. My colleague who reviews it, she gets overwhelmed. Even if you message me, I might not be able to respond in a hurry. I'm normally based in Pune, so I'm not even, a lot of you are in Mumbai or in other cities. I'm not able to meet you right away. But if you are patient with me, then if you have a good story, I will make it happen. I keep coming to Mumbai. I'm always willing to meet, to discuss, to engage, even if it does go nowhere. Like, I'm just happy to sit and talk. So take out the time and let's catch up.
Fantastic. And Neil, is it okay if our viewers and audience connect with you on LinkedIn and request you on LinkedIn?
Absolutely. Anything, Twitter, I'm very accessible.
Fantastic. Okay. One last question, Neil. At Network FP, we have launched this directory, India's first directory of personal finance professionals who meet certain eligibility criteria. They are all graduates. They have certification like a certified financial planner, CFA or QPFP. They have an industry license in place. And we have built a directory of around 900 odd people at this point in time. And I wanted to have your views on what is the relevance of an initiative like this and how it can benefit the consumers and the industry as a whole. If you can share some of your thoughts on that.
No, it's a fantastic initiative because I often get requests from different people that, you suggest a financial advisor. Mm-hmm. And I know a handful of people. I know them, professionally through reputation. So my choices, my knowledge is limited to that. So a proper searchable database addresses a huge customer need in India today, especially when it is filtered, when you don't allow just anyone to come and register. And you're doing the practical thing. You're not getting hung up on, is the person an RIA or are they an MFD? You're trying to address a practical need through a practical solution. So fantastic initiative.
Thank you so much, Neil. Really appreciate your time and presence here today. Friends, with that, we come to the end of the Success Talks. I have opened up the chat. Can you all please share one word for the kind of learning and the insights which you got from Neil Borate, our guest today on Success Talks? Can we have some hands on the keyboard and something on the chat to thank Neil for his time? Can I open up the chat? Value for money, fantastic, deep and real. Thank you, Neil. Like your views today. Look for the more result-oriented, appreciate, powerful, amazing. Thank you so much for your time. On point. Thank you. Valuable insight. VFM. You're really given that mantra for us today, Neil. VFM. So that's value for money. Wow. I come to know about MFD, value in terms of bank RM, walk the talk. There's transparency and frank talk, gratitude, unbiased. So Neil, this is all for you from the Network FP community.
Thank you so much, everyone. I'm really touched.
Thank you, sir. And friends, with that, we go on to the next agenda of the session. Thank you, Neil, for joining us today, and really appreciate your time with us, and look forward to see you more often interacting with the PFP community, personal finance professional.
Thanks, Adi.
Thank you so much, sir, for joining.